99 problems, and obviously a $2.7 million tax bill from the IRS is one. So in today's video, we're going to break down how not to get hit with a $2.7 million tax bill, what Beyonce did, and we're going to actually go into the documents and break down step by step all the things that are going on, and you're going to learn how to be smarter about not only doing your taxes, but not getting audited by the IRS. All right, let's dive in. Okay, so what we're looking at today is the actual document, the actual petition that Beyonce sent to the U.S. tax court to say, hey, and this is Beyonce, and since she's married to Jay-Z, as you're going to see, Jay-Z got actually hit with this. He received a notification as well, as you're going to see a little later on. So basically they're saying, hey, we got 99 problems, but $2.7 million ain't one. So why is Beyonce saying she actually doesn't owe this, right? So we're going to break this down. Now, obviously you can see there's a lot going on here. This is a 20-page document. So we're going to go through this step by step, and I'm going to try to make this easy for you to understand so you do not get hit with something like this. We're going to look out for a few flags here. So this is basically, so just to break this down, Beyonce Knowles Carter, petitioner, is basically saying, hey, she's sending a notice to the tax court here. And this is, so apparently she filed her taxes. This is from 2018, 2019. These were filed via electronic filing. Hopefully she didn't use TurboTax, because that would definitely, that could be a problem right there. So basically what we're looking at here is this is the deficiency for the years 2018 and 2019 with redactions. So there's a lot of stuff that was cut out just to protect her privacy. No, this is not Beyonce's address. This is the legal team. Don't worry about that. Okay, so what we're looking at here is this is going to be the years that the IRS saying Beyonce was deficient in paying the appropriate amount of taxes. So in 2018, she owed over $800,000 and plus a penalty, right? So this is a 20% penalty. 2019, same thing, owed over $1.4 million plus the 20% penalty. So this penalty is basically, that's what this IRC 6662A is. If we look that up, basically you can see that is the IRS code, Internal Revenue Code, imposition of accuracy, related penalty on underpayments, right? So basically it's saying, hey, if you owe, it's going to be amount, 20% is penalty is going to be added on the portion of underpayment which this section applies to. What does it apply to? It's saying Beyonce this is due to negligence and disregard, substantial understatement. So these are the things that the code says it could be for, and as we're going to see back in the document, they're actually charging her for a few of these things here, okay? So when we go back to the document here, we can see, okay, so the way that this breaks down, so the notice of deficiency is based on the following erroneous determination. So her legal team is basically saying that, hey, you said that Beyonce failed to report this amount. You said that Beyonce basically had other expenses of this amount, reported should be disallowed. So in this section here, it's basically a breakdown of what Beyonce was allegedly aired, basically what she said that she actually had these expenses. But when we look on this next page here, so I'm just going to scroll down a little bit here. So this section starts, facts upon which petitioner relies on as the basis for a case as follows. So on information and belief, petitioner properly reported this amount of income, right? So it goes on to say properly reported. So basically the difference is the IRS is saying, hey, you erred in reporting this, you erred in reporting that, and her team is saying, hey, this was properly reported. So I'm going to give you a better breakdown of this later, but I just want you to see the dynamic here. Basically, there is IRS is saying one thing, and Beyonce and her team as the petitioners are saying that hey, everything IRS that you said we did incorrectly, we actually did correctly. Maybe I don't know if they're going to blame it on TurboTax or whatever, but basically they're saying that they did everything right. But how? Okay, so let's break this down a little further. Okay, so this is basically the end of the first part of it, and this is the legal team from Beyonce. And here is the meat of the issue, right? So this goes into all the meticulous detail. We talked a little bit about this, about how basically the different years and the total deficiencies totaling $2.7 million. They're saying, okay, Beyonce, this is why we're actually sending you this letter. We determined that you owe additional tax and other amounts for the years above, and we're required by law to send this to you. Enclosed is Form 4549A, examination charges. So if you get this form, this is the form that you don't really want to get, okay? Now, you have a couple options, Beyonce. If you agree with this, if you agree that, hey, you've been a bad girl and you want to true up, basically sign the form, basically let us know, and then you're going to be responsible for paying, including the 20% penalty. If you disagree with the notice of deficiency, which Beyonce does, she basically is saying you have 90 days to from the date of this letter to petition. So this document is actually the petition. It includes the petition in here. So this is what's going on now. So Beyonce is effectively petitioning. Okay? So it goes on to say how to file a petition. Send it to this address here. There's time limits, right? You have 90 days from the date of this letter to actually send it to us. If you are married, now she is, right? So basically, we're required to send a notice to each spouse, right? So basically, both of them must sign and file this petition. So if they're married, filing jointly. So basically, Jay-Z got slapped with this notice as well. So apparently, this is one of his 99 problems now. Okay, so let's break this down a little more. So if we don't hear from you, we're going to assume that you're going to be responsible for this, and we're going to assess the bill for your deficiency for this, right? This goes on to say if you're a C corporation, which she's more than likely not, some other information, if you need more assistance. So this goes into, hey, we have a IRS taxpayer advocate service that can help you. She has a crackpot legal team, so I'm sure she can really do a lot better than this. If you are a low-income person, you can use Z resources. She's definitely not a low-income person, so she's not going to rely on that. Then it goes on, so it has a signature there, and then it goes on to more of a breakdown. So you get a copy of the deficiency waiver, the Form 4089B, and then another copy here, okay? And then it actually goes into some more of the breakdown. So at first it starts with saying, hey, first of all, Miss Beyonce, here is the actual penalty that you're going to pay. So remember, according to that IRC section 6662A, this is going to be for a few things, right? So this penalty is for if there's negligence or disregard, also for substantial understatement of tax or any substantial validation overstatement. So they're going to be hitting her with the 20% penalty. So they're going to break down like what actually she did next. Let's look at it. Okay, so it's basically saying, hey, all right, you know what? Beyonce, 2018, you got some negligence going on, right? Now let's look at 2019. 2019, you got negligence and you got substantial understatement going on as well. Okay, so now we're going to break this down. So here is the full list of things that they are basically saying that were erroneous. So a lot of things here. So you can see things like Schedule E, Schedule C. If you're not familiar with this is basically various schedules on the tax form 1040. So for example, Schedule C is self-employment. So Schedule C is off of the 1040 form profit and loss from business, right? You're going to use Schedule C to report income and loss from a business you operated or a profession you practice as a sole proprietor. So this is basically for self-employed folks. Schedule E is usually for real estate. So Schedule E here is also on 1040. It's supplemental income and loss, okay? So Schedule E is to report income or loss from rental real estate, royalties, partnerships, S corporations, estates, trusts, and residual interest in real estate mortgage investment conduits, okay? So we're basically seeing here that it's a bunch of Schedule C, Schedule E stuff, and a breakdown for each of these and the periods that are associated with it, okay? And then the total adjustments here, okay? So you can see these add up pretty quickly, all right? Now, these are quite substantial, okay? And we're gonna go through these one by one just to show you, but I wanted to give you like an overall picture of how all of these add up, okay? All right, now let's go down to the next. So this is the penalty here, right? That's 6662. That 20% penalty tacked on here, okay? And then now these last couple pages here, and I'm gonna finish up on this. So this is the actual breakdown. So first thing, qualified business income, or QBI. So basically it's saying the qualified business income that she asked for, and so this is how it's handled, right? So this form, you'll see you have tax period, per return, per exam, and adjustment. So what these things are, if we look at this, so it's going to say this is going to be, so for example, the tax period is 2018, royalties received. So she claimed $11 on this, but the exam said that, hey, Beyonce, you know what? You should have owed a lot more. You should have owed $1,460. So the adjustment is $1,449. So $1,460 plus the $11 is going to be the adjustment here. Actually, it's going to subtract the $11 that she already paid, so that's subtracted, and that's going to be the $1,449. Same thing here, right? So other expenses. Beyonce said, "Hey, I had some other expenses. I had $790,000 some dollars in expenses." And per the examiner, the IRS examiner, they're like, "Nope, Beyonce, you should have only claimed around $29,000 for this. So we are going to adjust this down to $455. Same thing for this stuff, right? So this is Schedule E stuff, right? The real estate income stuff on the Schedule E. This is Schedule C, self-employment stuff. So more Schedule C, legal and professional fees. So Beyonce had $1.1 some million in legal and professional services fees. Wow. Okay. And the examiner, you can only write off $677 of this. So this is going to be the adjustment. So this column here, guys, this is all going to be added, and this is going to total to that $2.7 million, including the penalties. Okay, things like contribution carryover. And then on this last page here, we have some other adjustments here: self-employment tax, other expenses she claimed, utilities, about $12,000 she claimed for her electric bill or whatever. And basically, they're like, nope, you're not going to write that off. Okay, so this is the part where things really heat up, right? So in this particular part here, we have still Schedule E stuff, right? But now we're going to see things like depreciation expense or depletion. Depreciation is when you have an asset and the asset depreciates over the life of it, right? So you have a laptop you paid $2,000 for, a year later maybe it's worth $1,000, so that asset is depreciating, so you can write off part of that. In this case, since it's Schedule E, and since it's for such a high amount, $75,000, $3.3 million, that's quite a bit. And more than likely that is some sort of property that she's depreciating, but the IRS said, nope, we're not taking any of that off. You're going to be responsible for the full amount. Bottom line, guys, if you're doing something like this, pay attention, keep your documentation in a good state, use a professional. IRS audit is not the end of the world, so make sure you have all your ducks in a row. So hopefully you learned a little something today, what not to do, how not to get audited. Make sure your ducks are in a row, and if you like more of this kind of stuff, be sure to subscribe and watch more videos. I love this stuff. We break it down and we have a lot of fun while we're learning how to save money, be smarter with taxes, and really get ahead. Thanks a lot. See you on the next video.